Welcome to Crown TV. Immerse yourself with a captivating audio from our stories. We provide an alternative way to read books in audio. We upload many audiobooks as possible, from bestsellers to timeless classic. Subscribe and stay tuned for new upload.
Episode 81, The Proposition. What are you doing? Don't be silly. He doesn't look like the person you were talking about. Look at his clothes. He doesn't look much better than a beggar on the street, Sharon said. She had a poor impression of Alex, mainly due to the way he was glaring at her. It didn't cross her mind that she was the one who had teased him first, and that his glare was perfectly justified. Just stop talking for a minute, Kelly said as she glanced at Sharon. Then she looked at Alex and said, "Hello, Alex." "Sorry, I'm leaving." Alex didn't like Sharon either, and he had assumed that her friend must be as unpleasant as she was. He started to walk away. "Now look what you've done," Kelly grumbled as she glanced at Sharon. Then she grabbed her friend's hands and they followed him. Alex felt thirsty, and as he walked past the cafeteria, he decided to get himself a cold drink. After the server had handed him his lemonade, he tried to swipe his meal card on the machine, but it wasn't accepted. Unfortunately, this canteen had only accepted meal cards or cash. Alex had thrown all his cash at the driver the other day to take him and Debbie to the hospital to see her mom. He didn't have any left to pay for the drink. "Oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't..." Alex was about to leave in embarrassment when he heard a beep from the machine beside him. He turned his head and saw that it was Sharon's friend who had paid. The girl was slim with snow-white skin and bangs framing her forehead. Her eyes were big and full of spirit. She had a straight nose and thin pink lips. She looked very delicate. She smiled shyly at him. Alex didn't understand why she was paying for him, but he wanted to thank her. Sharon pulled Kelly away from the canteen and said with a frown, "Why are you paying for him? He was just bragging about having all that money. He said that he had over $1 million in the bank and that he has a Ferrari, but he can't even pay for a soda. I think he's crazy. You shouldn't pay him any attention." Even if Alex was the one who had saved Kelly that night, Sharon didn't think much of him. She didn't believe that he was as rich and powerful as Kelly thought. She thought he was just a braggart and a loser. "Shut up, Sharon." Hearing what she said, Kelly started to get annoyed. She didn't care if Alex had been bragging on the phone just a moment ago. To her, he was still her hero. Alex became suspicious when he heard Sharon's words. He wondered, what does she mean by "don't pay him any attention"? She's reminding me of Kathy and Karen. When the two of them had been paying me attention, they'd both been thinking of ways to cheat me out of money. Could it be that this seemingly harmless friend of Sharon is also after my money? It's possible. After all, quite a few people in the school know that I donated more than $100,000 to the charity. Thinking about this, Alex couldn't help but feel a little angry. He didn't want to be cheated by any woman, no matter how pretty they were. Any woman who was only paying him attention because of his money was ugly to him. He put the lemonade glass on the counter, turned and walked out of the canteen. Kelly started to follow him. She wasn't aware of what Alex had been through with Kathy and Karen, so she couldn't understand why he was being so rude to her. Alex picked up a hire bike on campus and headed to his dorm so that he could get rid of Kelly and the others. To his surprise, Kelly also got a bike and started following him. "Hey, wait a moment," Kelly cried. She was crazily pedaling her bike after him. She rarely rode a bike, so her posture was very awkward. Alex ignored her and continued to ride very fast. "Please stop, I have something to tell you." With a great effort, Kelly finally caught up with him. She tilted her head and panted as she spoke. Alex didn't even look at her, but continued to pedal. He cycled away and left her far behind. "Wait for me, why are you pedaling so quickly?" Kelly pleaded and pedaled as quickly as she could, but the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Alex didn't feel sorry for her. "I know that this girl is only talking to me to trick me out of money," he thought. "Why should I give her a chance to do that?" When they arrived at the square in front of the library, Alex heard a clanging sound behind him. He quickly turned around and saw that Kelly's bike had landed on the grass and that she had fallen on top of it. As he saw this, he started to feel a little guilty. After all, Kelly had fallen because she was trying to catch up with him. Alex looked at Kelly lying on the grass. He realized that he'd acted badly and his heart softened. Finally, he turned around and rode to where she had fallen. He propped up his bike and walked over to her. Kelly said angrily to him, "Why did you keep running away from me? Go away, it's too late now. Get lost." He asked, "Are you okay?" "Would you feel okay in my position? What do you think?" she answered, staring at him from the ground. Alex sighed and reached out his hand to her. She looked at his outstretched hand. Although she was still angry with him, she took it, and he pulled her up off the grass. "Are you okay?" Alex asked again, holding her up. "My ankle hurts a little," she replied. Her attitude had also softened toward him. Alex supported the limping girl as they slowly walked to a rock by the side of the road. "Slow down," he told her. Because of his kindness, Kelly started to feel happier. "My ankle hurts. Maybe you could help me massage it?" Kelly requested gently as she looked into his eyes. Alex couldn't turn down such a pretty girl. It was my fault that she fell off her bike after all, he thought. I'll just give her ankle a quick rub. Alex squatted down in front of Kelly. He held her foot in his hands and gently rubbed her ankle. A few male students who were relaxing and reading books on the lawn close by saw this scene. They couldn't concentrate on their reading, as they couldn't help but watch this boy rubbing the girl's foot. The girl sitting on the rock was so beautiful. She was perfect and delicate. Who wouldn't want to take care of her? But the guy was dressed in ordinary clothes. He looked like a total loser, and she was letting him rub her feet. The boys who were watching felt jealous and annoyed. They all wanted to be rubbing the feet of this beautiful girl. "How is it?" Alex raised his head and asked kindly. "There is still a little pain," Kelly replied softly. At first, she thought Alex was a tough, straightforward man, but now it seemed that he had a delicate and gentle side to him. Her good impression of him deepened. Alex was still squatting on the ground, carefully rubbing her feet, when Kelly suddenly asked, "What do you think of me?" "What do you mean?" He stopped and looked at her curiously. "If you like me after all, why don't we go on a date?" Kelly thought Alex liked her too. For her, it had been love at first sight. The first time she had seen him, she wanted to go out with him. Alex put her foot down. He gave her a small smile and stood up. It was just as he thought. She did have an ulterior motive for wanting to get closer to him. He had never met Kelly before. He thought, we've known each other for less than an hour, and yet she says she has feelings for me. Does she like me, or is she only after my money? Alex smiled and slowly turned around to leave. Hold on. Kelly stood up from the rock anxiously and pulled him back. I want to be your girlfriend. What's wrong with that? Kelly was used to men pursuing her. This was the first time she had to proposition a man. She couldn't believe he was rejecting her. How could she not be angry? The boys on the grass who'd been secretly watching them were shocked. How could this beautiful goddess fall in love with a loser and ask him out? He looked like a nobody. What did this girl see in him? What are you talking about? We've known each other for less than an hour, and I don't even know your name, but you say you want to be my girlfriend? Do you think I'm stupid? Alex asked Kelly with a sneer on his face. I was careless. My name is Kelly. Do you think I'm lying to you? I'm not. She explained quickly. And actually, we have met before. We've met before? Alex was surprised. Such a pretty girl. If he had seen her before, he would remember her. Yes, not only have we met, but you did me a huge favor, she said, and told him all about what had happened that day. Only then did Alex start to remember the incident. As he was rushing in a car to the hospital to see Debbie's mother, he had knocked over the boy who was bothering her. On that day, I thought it was all over. Fortunately, you appeared in time and saved me. I really wanted to see you again, so I tracked you down and came to Preston University to find you. I understand. Alex nodded slowly. Only then did he believe that Kelly was not after his money. Just at that moment, Sharon quickly walked up to them. She hadn't taken a bike, but had been following them on foot, and she had seen Kelly lying on the grass. She was worried as she asked her friend, Are you okay? Kelly ignored her as her gaze was focused on Alex's face. She asked him, So, would you like to date me? Kelly was still very confident. She was sure that he would want to go out with her now that the misunderstanding was resolved. You're asking him out? But he's a loser. Sharon couldn't understand her friend. However, she did know how stubborn she was. If Kelly had set her mind on something, she knew that she could do nothing to change it. Sharon pointed at Alex and said, I'm warning you, don't take advantage of Kelly. You think too much of yourself. I know you're only after one thing. I don't want to go out with her, Alex replied calmly. You know Kelly's way too good for you, and yet you still think you could go out with her? You're unbelievable. Sharon berated Alex for a while before realizing that he had said, I don't want to. She was stunned. In her opinion, Kelly was so desirable that no man in his right mind would ever turn her down. Sharon couldn't help but look over at Kelly, only to see her biting her lip. She looked close to tears. Episode 82, He's a Nobody. To help Kelly feel better, Sharon pointed at Alex and said harshly, Are you blind? Kelly asked you out and you actually turned her down? I guess you must realize you're not good enough for her. Alex didn't know what to say. Sharon was wrong in her assumption, but he couldn't agree to go out with Kelly. Give me a reason, Kelly said with a smile as she tried to suppress her disappointment. I already have a girlfriend, he said with a shrug. Regardless of whether Kelly was sincere about her feelings or not, he would not mess around. Hearing this explanation, Kelly felt a little better. It wasn't that he didn't like her, it also proved that he was a good man, that he was a man that she could admire. So what if you have a girlfriend? I bet I'm as good as her. Maybe if you go out with me for a while, you'll find that you prefer me to your girlfriend. Kelly's eyes lit up again. No need. I love my girlfriend. I said that I'll protect her forever. Debbie's face appeared in Alex's mind, and he smiled. Kelly was shocked when she saw his smile. It seemed genuine. I want to meet your girlfriend and see how beautiful she is, and I want to see for myself how much you love her, Kelly said with a small smile. In her heart, however, she knew that she was jealous. She's at work now, not at school. At that moment, Alex's cell phone rang. It was Debbie. Debbie, is something wrong? Oh, good. Of course. You can call me whenever you like. That's great. If you listen to your teacher, you'll definitely improve. All right, I'll pick you up this afternoon. Bye. Alex hung up the phone. Seeing the blissful look on his face while he was speaking to his girlfriend, Kelly was envious of her. It sounds like you guys really love each other, she said, and she smiled, but there was envy in her heart. But don't think that I'm going to give up that easily. In my opinion, you're only with her because you met her first. I've made it very clear that I'll take care of her for the rest of her life. Please stay away from me, Alex said rudely. You're having a go at me now. It doesn't matter, though. You'll make it up to me in the future. Kelly remained calm, and she smiled confidently, but inside she was seething. Alex had never met a woman like Kelly before. She didn't even react when he was rude to her. She was so determined to win him over. He wondered how he could ever get rid of her. Just please forget it and let me go, he said as he stared at her in desperation. Are you begging me? Kelly asked proudly. Looking at Alex's angry face, she rolled her eyes and revealed a sly smile. You want me to let you go? Sure, but you have to promise me one thing. What? Alex would do anything to get rid of her. Accompany me to a party and tell everyone that you're my boyfriend. She stared into his eyes and continued, Don't worry, it's just an act, but you have to pretend to everyone at the party that we're together. Okay, I'll do it, he nodded. Aren't you going to tell me your name? Kelly asked. Alex. She asked him for his phone number. Then I'll see you tomorrow. Just wait for me at the entrance of your school. Kelly stood up and waved at him with a smile. Alex said goodbye, turned around, and left. Watching him leave, Kelly lowered her head slightly with a smile. He had agreed to go to the party with her, and she felt very pleased with herself. Sharon had heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Kelly say that she only wanted Alex to pretend to be her boyfriend. She said, Kelly, I'm relieved. For a while there, I thought you really liked that loser. Luckily, you figured it out in the end. I do really like him, Kelly replied as she recalled Alex's handsome face. What? Didn't you promise to let him go? You just asked him to pretend to be your boyfriend at the party. Sharon looked surprised. Kelly revealed a sly smile as she muttered, I don't think so. Once he spends some time with me at the party, he'll soon realize that I'm the one he wants to be with. I give up. You really don't know what's good for you, Sharon said helplessly. Let's go. As they were leaving, Kelly felt a twinge of pain in her ankle. This brought back the memory of Alex squatting on the ground and rubbing her feet, and a smug smile appeared on her face. For the past 3 days, in addition to her usual lessons, Debbie had also been training at the Sunshine Music Company. She was no longer being bullied, and she had gradually started to relax. Alex was relieved to see her confidence growing. On the day of the party, Alex had dropped Debbie off at Sunshine Music and had just gotten back to the university campus when he received a call from Kelly, telling him to go to the school gate. After ending the call, he went quickly to their meeting place, where he saw Kelly driving up in a BMW and waving at him. Sharon, who was sitting in the passenger seat, looked at him in disgust. She said, Don't you have any decent clothes you could have worn? You do know who's going to be there today, don't you? They won't be able to stop laughing at you when they see you. How about I don't go? Alex replied. He didn't take Sharon's words seriously. He also didn't care at all about this party or what the people there thought of him. It's all right, Kelly said with a smile. He still looks handsome. Get in the car. Alex climbed into the back seat and Kelly started the car. When she pulled up at Green Island Garden District, Alex was puzzled. He asked, Why have you stopped here? The party's in this district, she replied sweetly. You guys go ahead and I'll park the car. Alex and Sharon got out of the car. He looked around him and thought, Lucky that Debbie went to music practice today. It would be a disaster if she saw me here with Kelly. Sharon snorted when she saw Alex looking around him. She laughed and said, Ha! Look at you staring at the posh houses. You've never even been to such a good neighborhood as this before, have you? Alex glanced at her but didn't say anything. Sharon was dressed beautifully today. She looked even more sophisticated than the last time Alex had seen her. A few minutes later, Kelly had parked her car and walked over to them. Alex noticed that she was also wearing particularly elegant clothes. Her hair was adorned with a dark purple bow, and she was wearing a long, light green dress. She wore high-heeled sandals at her feet, making her look elegant and beautiful. She looked like a Hollywood movie star, and Alex couldn't help but admire her for a moment. Let's go, Kelly said with a smile when she saw Alex's stunned expression. The three of them walked to the entrance of the residential complex. The gate to the district was closed, and only residents with key cards could enter. They waited for a long time, but no one came out. The girls started to worry. Alex thought, Well, it seems that I'm the only one who can get us in. Since we're here now, I might as well do it. He pulled out his card, put it on the sensor, and the door opened with a beep. Kelly opened her eyes wide as she looked at Alex. She asked, How did you get a security card for this place? She thought, Is Alex a resident of Green Island Garden? This is one of the top residential areas in New York City. Alex hadn't expected such a strong reaction from Kelly. He regretted that he had revealed that he had a key card, but there was nothing he could do now. He could only nod up and down. He replied, Actually, I live here. Bullshit, Sharon blurted out. Alex, do you really expect us to believe that you have a house here? Do you take us for idiots? Even the cheapest house in the Green Island Garden costs more than $4 million. How could you ever afford that? Alex frowned as he looked at her. She continued, You probably don't know that after you left the other day, Kelly and I went to your class and asked your classmates about you. Sharon smiled at Alex, as if she saw straight through him. Your tuition fees are paid by the state and by the school's poverty fund, and you cover your living expenses with part-time jobs. Your clothes are old and cheap, and your cell phone is second-hand. Sharon and Kelly had indeed asked around about Alex. They had learned quite a lot about him, but it wasn't the whole truth. You expect us to believe that you live in Green Island Garden? Do you think we're that easy to deceive, or are you simply brainless? Sharon asked bluntly. Alex swallowed. What she said was true, but he wasn't lying either. He did indeed have a villa at Green Island Garden, and it was the most expensive villa on the complex. Sharon... Kelly stopped her from continuing. Her words were too mean. Perhaps what he said is true, she suggested. Kelly still had a glimmer of hope in her heart. She wanted to believe that Alex wasn't lying to her. Really? Kelly, don't be ridiculous. I'm guessing that he must work part-time in this district, which is why he has the key card. Sharon laughed and pointed at the office at the door. She looked at Alex and said, How about we go and ask the office? If you're a resident, they're sure to recognize you. Alex didn't say anything. He didn't care what Sharon or Kelly thought of him, so why make things any more complicated? He still didn't want them to know how rich he was. He frowned to himself, looked at the sky, and didn't say anything. See, he's a liar. Sharon felt certain that she had seen through Alex's lies. She smiled proudly at Kelly, who sighed loudly. She was disappointed, but tried to console herself that Alex didn't lie often. It wasn't a big problem for her. Sharon continued to lecture Alex. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. I know you want to be with Kelly so you can live off her money, right? She glared at him and continued, Well, don't even try it with me around. Sharon, stop it. Kelly felt that her friend's words were unnecessarily mean. She just couldn't believe that Alex was that kind of person. Embarrassed, she said to Alex, Don't listen to her. Sharon is just looking out for me. Let's go to the party. Everyone is probably already there. The three of them walked into the district. Episode 83, The Party. Together they walked through the Green Island Gardens residential area. There were neat rows of Mediterranean-looking villas. In front of each, there were all kinds of plants and trees, such as money trees, almonds in full bloom, and citrus trees. It was a very colorful and pretty scene. On both sides of the road, there were pine trees with birds chirping. The surrounding air was cool and fresh, with a faint fragrance of flowers. Alex had spent a lot of time there, so it was nothing new for him. But the two girls were amazed by the beauty of their surroundings. They took lots of panoramic photos on their cell phones, exclaiming that Green Island Garden was indeed worthy of being one of the top 2 residential areas in New York. Soon, they arrived at the artificial lake. In the middle of the lake was a small island, and on the island was a villa, which looked even more luxurious than the other properties. It looked like a European castle. So beautiful, the two girls exclaimed, as they looked longingly at the villa on the island and felt a gentle breeze from the lake brushing their faces. Kelly commented, That villa is worth over $40 million. I heard that it was bought by a young student in his 20s. Can you believe he's got so much money at that age? The breeze rustled her dress. Standing by the lake, she looked very beautiful. Sharon replied, Who knows? I've heard from a friend who works here that he bought this villa over a month ago and hasn't lived in it at all. Maybe he even has a better house than this one. She imagined the young man and said longingly, If I ever meet him, I want to hug him and kiss him. Hearing her words, Alex, who was standing nearby, started coughing. Sharon looked at him impatiently. I'm sorry, I choked, he quickly apologized. But Sharon didn't even notice how appalled he was with the way she was talking. She looked at him with disdain and said, Disgusting loser. Go on, cough yourself to death. Didn't you say you lived here? Tell me, which villa is yours? Is there something you want to tell us? Alex subconsciously glared at the mansion on the artificial island. Why are you looking at that villa? You couldn't afford that if you lived another 8 lifetimes. Sharon huffed as she spoke. She pulled Kelly's hand and said, Let's go, ignore this liar. Sharon pulled Kelly, and they walked away from Alex, who shook his head in despair and followed behind them. Soon they could hear the sounds of people chatting and laughing, and a few minutes later, they arrived at a villa on the southern side of the residential area. There were 2 marquees in the garden, each containing long white tables filled with fruits, beverages, and wine. 30 or so well-dressed young men were milling around, holding glasses, and chatting in groups of 2s and 3s. Kelly, Sharon, and Alex walked into the garden. One of the young men saw them and called out, Sharon, Kelly, you're here. We were all hoping you were coming, said another. Another said, "Kelly, we haven't seen each other in a few months, but you look prettier than ever." Everyone rushed over to greet the girls. Mostly young men, but there were also a few girls. Other girls stayed back, watching Kelly with a trace of jealousy in their eyes. The young men surrounding Kelly were all chatting happily. Then one of them noticed the young man standing beside her, wearing scruffy clothes and looking as if he didn't belong. "Who's this?" asked one of the men. "Look at what he's wearing. It looks like he bought his clothes from the flea market." Another said, "He doesn't even have a decent haircut, or a watch, or a chain. What's he doing here?" "I can't believe that Simon would invite someone like him," agreed the first man. The others started to discuss Alex right in front of him as if he wasn't there. "Hey, you must have walked down the wrong path. Look around you. You don't belong here," a man said to Alex as he glanced around at the other guests. All of them looked smartly dressed in expensive designer outfits. He shot a disdainful look at Alex and clicked his tongue. "You think you're one of us? I think you should leave." As he spoke, the young man gestured to the way out. But Sharon interrupted. "Hey, what are you doing?" "He's here with me and Kelly," she said with a smile. "He came with you?" The others were shocked. This boy was much poorer than them. Why would Kelly bring him? And she and Sharon were the most beautiful girls there. They could have any man they wanted, and usually they rejected them all. Seeing the men's confused expressions, Sharon smiled smugly. Her eyes swept over Alex's body, and then she looked at the others. "His name is Alex, and don't underestimate him. He's not just anyone," she said with a mysterious smile. "Oh?" Hearing her words, the others looked at Alex again. Could it be that this guy who looks like a pauper is rich? They wondered. Sharon cleared her throat. "A month ago, Alex ordered an exclusive Ferrari worth over $20 million. This car is currently being manufactured in Italy from the world's best parts." Hearing this, the others were shocked. Alex and Kelly frowned. They knew that Sharon was not going to praise him, so what was she up to? She continued. "Alex didn't want to wait too long for the car to be manufactured, so he paid an extra $100,000 to have it made more quickly. The team at Ferrari has to deliver it to him within 10 days. She was enjoying herself. Originally, the others almost believed that Alex could be from a middle-class family, but as they watched Sharon, a coy smile appeared on her face, and they realized that she was joking with them. "Did you know that when we arrived earlier, Alex actually pretended that he lives here?" she continued. The others gasped in mock horror and looked at him with sneering smiles. "And do you know which villa he lives in?" The more Sharon spoke, the more animated she became. Looking at the others laughing at Alex, she was enjoying her joke. "I'll tell you guys in secret. It's the one on the artificial island." The others replied at the same time. Their laughter was filled with ridicule. One man said, "So he's not just wealthy, he must be super rich." Another joined in. "It just shows you can't judge a book by its cover. If it wasn't for Sharon, I would have thought he had just been picking up the trash on the streets." "Since you own the most expensive villa on the artificial lake, why are we still here? This doesn't compare to your house there. Let's go to your place." The guy who tried to get Alex to leave pushed him as he spoke. "What are you doing?" Kelly demanded as she pushed the man away. She stood in front of Alex and looked at the others angrily. "What's wrong with you guys? What are you laughing at? Do you want to have a go at me now? Go on, then." The man replied, "Kelly, you know what we're saying. It's just that this guy doesn't fit in at this party, and he's making everybody here uncomfortable." "Why doesn't he fit in?" "Well, he's my boyfriend." "Do you still think he's not worthy?" Kelly glared at the others as she spoke. When they heard this, everyone was stunned. This loser is Kelly's boyfriend? That just can't be right. Sharon was also shocked when she heard her friend telling everyone that Alex, a loser who'd only knew how to brag, was her boyfriend. She couldn't believe it. Alex was bewildered for a moment, but Kelly had told him before that he had to pretend to be her boyfriend at the party. One of the guests laughed and said, "Kelly, stop joking with us. We know you wouldn't date someone like him. You've had loads of rich guys chasing you, and you turned them all down." Her friends agreed. "Definitely," one shouted. Another said, "I know what's happening. Hasn't Kelly been annoyed by Henry Moore pestering her recently? I bet she's found a fake boyfriend to scare him off." "Yes, that's right, it must be," another agreed. The others nodded, imagining all sorts of reasons for their friend to be dating this loser. Kelly was like a goddess to them. They really couldn't accept that she would date someone like Alex. The first man smiled and said to her, "We're right, aren't we?" "Kelly, actually, if you need someone to pretend to be your boyfriend, I'd be happy to help." "And me," said his friend. "I can do it too. It should at least be someone better than this dirtbag, right?" Looking at these people who thought they were being clever, Kelly chuckled softly. "Who told you he was pretending to be my boyfriend?" she asked with a small smile. The others looked at her in confusion. Why did she need to ask? Kelly came from such a good family. Why would she settle for someone like Alex? Kelly turned and looked at Alex. He was taken aback by how pretty she looked peeking out from beneath her sun hat. He looked into her bright eyes and couldn't help but feel touched by her gaze. Kelly stared into his eyes, then stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the mouth. Alex was stunned. As Kelly kissed him, Alex didn't respond at all. He could feel that her lips were tender and thin, and a little cold, and he could feel her nose rubbing against his. He opened his eyes wide to see Kelly's face right in front of him. He could see her curved eyelashes, her delicate eyelids, and the fine lines at the corner of her eyes. He could feel her moist breath on his nose, filling his nostrils with a delicate fragrance. Even though Alex's mind was in turmoil, his body felt light, as if he was lying on soft clouds. Then he felt a small tongue trying to push between his lips, and he suddenly felt a jolt. He quickly pushed Kelly away. He looked at her in shock. His mind was all over the place. What have I done? Alex thought about Debbie and felt guilty. He felt that kissing another woman behind her back was disgusting, heartless, and cruel. Episode 84, We Meet Again. Kelly was shocked when Alex pushed her away. She looked at him, and for a moment, and her heart just felt empty. This was her first kiss. She had imagined it countless times and had never imagined it would be like this. And this was the first time in her life that she had ever been rejected. Everyone watching was in shock. Most of them stood with their mouths open. One of them had had his mouth open ever since Kelly first started kissing Alex. At this moment, a sliver of drool slipped from the corner of his mouth, and he finally came back to his senses. A man with a ponytail turned to someone beside him and asked, "Did Kelly just kiss him?" His friend just shook his head dumbly. Although they looked calm on the outside, all the men in the group were broken-hearted. How could this woman that they worshipped want to kiss this loser? All the men looked in disgust at Alex, who was staring at Kelly resentfully. They ground their teeth as if they wanted to eat him alive. He's just been kissed by a goddess, they thought. This dirtbag should be overjoyed, but he has a look of disdain on his face. He's clearly just showing off to everyone. They thought Alex was trying to say, "Look at all you sad losers. You've been trying to seduce this beautiful woman for such a long time, and she's barely giving you the time of day. And now your goddess has kissed me, and I don't care. In fact, I even despise her kissing me. Your goddess is just a plaything to me. And you still have the audacity to call me a loser? You're the real losers." "Scumbag, you've got a nerve," one of the guys called out. Another joined in. "Yeah, you think you're too good for Kelly, right? How dare you push her away? Kelly kissed you because she likes you, and you had the nerve to push her away. How could you?" another said. Several of the men tried to pick a fight with Alex, but Kelly stood in front of him and asked, "What are you guys doing?" The man at the front pointed at Alex. Confused, he asked her, "Kelly, he can't treat you like this. Why are you still protecting him?" "Never mind what he did. It's between us and has nothing to do with you," Kelly replied as she stared at the man. She understood why Alex had pushed her away. He must have thought of his girlfriend and felt guilty for kissing her. This proved that he was a good man. Although he had rejected her in front of everyone, she didn't care because she could tell that he was a man worthy of her pursuit. Kelly's words rendered the others speechless. They looked at her and then at Alex dumbly. They wanted to beat him up, but they had no justification. Kelly didn't seem to care that he had rejected her, so what could they say? They could only stare. Some of them were starting to admire Alex, and they wanted to know what he had done to make Kelly so determined to protect him. Just then, loud applause rang out, and they all heard a strident voice saying, "You're my cousin, all right. You're nothing like the other women." Everyone looked toward the villa and saw a tall, handsome man walk out. He was bare-chested and wore a pair of flowered shorts. He had his arm around the waist of a tall, beautiful woman. The man was Kelly's cousin Simon, and this party was to celebrate his 20th birthday. After walking into the garden, the beautiful woman smiled cheerfully at the man and said softly, "Simon, I'll leave now." She kissed Simon on the cheek and walked out through the gate. One of his friends shouted to him, "Simon, you're awesome. You've been in the bedroom with her for at least an hour." Another said, "Simon, that woman was gorgeous. Where'd she come from? Give me her number." A few boys crowded around Simon, but he ignored them. He looked toward Kelly and walked up to her with a smile on his face. "Kelly, you look beautiful as always." There was a hint of desire in his eyes, and he only reined in his lust when he saw Kelly turn her face away in disgust. "So, who is the man that captivated my cousin so much?" Simon turned his gaze toward Alex. He first uttered an "oh" in surprise, and then sized him up with a faint smile. He couldn't help but let out a "wow." "Kelly, your judgment is improving. You seem to have found yourself the perfect boyfriend," he said to his cousin with a naughty smile. Simon's friends heard his sarcasm, and some of them joined in. One called out, "Truly outrageous." "By the way, Henry Moore will be here soon. Henry's in love with Kelly, and when he sees that this scumbag is Kelly's boyfriend, we won't be able to hold him back," another reminded everyone. "You're right, Henry's temper is terrible. The kid's in big trouble." Kelly chuckled softly. She glanced at the others and said, "I'm afraid Henry can't come. He's lying in the hospital right now." She knew that Henry had been hurt quite badly when Alex hit him with the car. When they heard what Kelly said, no one could believe it. "Simon, Henry's coming tonight, isn't he?" someone asked Simon. He was really good friends with Henry, and everyone else in their group looked up to the pair of them. He must know what was happening with Harry. "He can't come," Simon said lightly. "A few days ago, he was hit by a car driven by a young lunatic. He was injured quite badly, and he's still lying in the hospital." The others were shocked. Who would dare hit Henry with his car? Everyone knew that Henry had a lot of connections and was well respected in society. One friend asked, "Holy shit, Simon, do you know who did it?" "Daring to bump into Henry, he must have a death wish, right?" another said. "Let's see if Henry needs help," suggested another. Simon replied to his friends, "It's okay. While Henry's been in the hospital, he's already found someone to investigate the incident for him and find out who did it. When he finds out who it was, he'll definitely let us all know." Simon then turned his gaze to Alex and smiled lightly, saying, "So, you want to pick up my cousin? Well, you should think carefully about what you're doing. Personally, I suggest that you stay well away from her. Otherwise, I don't like to think about what'll happen to you when Henry leaves the hospital." "Have you finished?" Kelly pushed Simon away and looked at him in disgust. She was tempted to tell this group of people that Alex was the one who knocked Henry down, but she knew that she couldn't. "All right, I won't say any more." Simon raised his hand in front of Kelly to show that he was backing down, but he was still staring at Alex with a hint of ridicule. Just then Simon's phone rang. He answered it saying, "Darling, you're at the door, right? Great. I'll come and find you right now." After ending the call, he proudly said to his friends, "Everyone carry on having fun without me. I'm going to go pick up my girlfriend." A young man said wistfully, "Simon's girlfriend Shirley's so beautiful. She looks like Megan Fox. I can't wait to see her again." "I've already dumped that cow Shirley. I've been with her so long that I'm already bored by her," Simon said in disdain. "Damn, a beauty like Megan Fox and you're bored with her? How awesome." "Why shouldn't I get bored with her? Wait till you guys find a girlfriend like that and you'll know what I mean," Simon said, enjoying everyone's admiration. Simon was very proud of himself as he looked at his friends. They were all in awe of him. He said, You'll see, my new girl's even more gorgeous. Anyway, I'm done talking to you guys. I'm gonna go meet my baby. Then he turned around and walked out. Everyone was intrigued. Is someone more gorgeous than Megan Fox? She must be incredible. A few minutes later, Simon walked over, talking and laughing with the beautiful woman on his arm. Everyone looked toward them, keen to see his new girlfriend. The girl beside Simon was wearing a light blue, knee-length dress that showed off her shapely legs. She had beautiful, shiny hair and a very pretty face. Although she wasn't as beautiful as Simon had boasted, she was still very attractive, and his friends were jealous. But when Alex saw her, his heart tightened. It was Kathy. His hands clenched into fists. Kelly noticed that something was wrong with Alex and asked him with concern, "Are you okay?" Alex replied quietly, "I'm fine." Simon and Kathy walked into the garden holding each other's hands. Kathy didn't notice that Alex was standing at the back of the crowd. One of his friends said, "Simon, your new girlfriend's so beautiful." "Nice to meet you," another said to Kathy. Kathy looked proudly at Simon's friends and gave them a brilliant smile. Simon introduced Kathy as he slid his hand onto her butt. "These are my good friends. Between them, they're worth at least a few million." "Why isn't Henry here?" Kathy asked. She had been with Simon for more than 10 days, and in that time she had met Henry. "My cousin told us that he's been hit by a car and now he's lying in the hospital." When Simon spoke, he was very close to Kathy. His eyes were fixed on her lips, and she felt excited. "Really? Is your cousin here?" Kathy knew Simon's family was rich, so she wanted to meet them and make a good impression as soon as possible. "Kelly, come meet Kathy," Simon said to his cousin. "Kelly." Kathy followed Simon's gaze and looked over. The smile on her face froze when she saw Alex, who was standing beside her. Lately, Kathy had not been at class at all. This was the first time she'd seen Alex since she took off her clothes in front of him in the Autumn Beauty Boutique. She became very agitated. "Darling, what's the matter?" Simon saw that Kathy's eyes were focused on Alex's face, so he smiled and said, "Oh, you're upset that we have such a slob at the party, right? I didn't invite him. I know he looks terrible, but apparently he's my cousin's boyfriend. What do you think?" Kathy's heart was racing. She started to become filled with hatred and resentment toward Alex. Until recently, she had believed that Alex was still in love with her and would always be waiting for her. But he'd already betrayed her when he started seeing Debbie, and now he was having another affair with yet another woman. Kathy felt that Alex was betraying her again. "I need to go to the washroom first." Kathy smiled sweetly to Simon, stood up and walked into the villa. When she turned around, her expression was mean. Episode 85. My Boyfriend Didn't Do It. "Kelly, your boyfriend looks so rough that he's scared my girlfriend away," said Simon, smiling proudly. Kelly glared at him coldly and didn't respond. She turned to Alex and suggested softly, "Let's move over there. Are you thirsty? I'll get you a drink." Kelly pulled Alex to a long table with fruits and drinks, but his attention was on Simon. He was thinking of everything that he had heard about Kathy since he last saw her. The last time he saw Kathy was in the Autumn Beauty Boutique, and he had not seen her since. He was worried that she was not able to raise the $350,000 that Billy wanted, and that Billy really would get one of his friends to do something terrible to her. He had asked his classmates about Kathy's situation, but they could only tell him that she had taken a long leave of absence, and had only returned to the dormitory occasionally, spending most of her time outside the campus. As he hadn't seen her for a while, and then he'd been distracted by the visit from Debbie's mother, Carla, he hadn't been thinking much about Kathy's situation recently. When he suddenly saw her today, everything came flooding back, and he wanted to know what was happening. One of Simon's rich friends was asking him about Kathy. "Simon, where did you find her? You look great together." Simon replied, "Her name is Kathy, and she goes to Preston University. The other day I was a bit bored, so I heard that there was a student holding a photographic exhibition at the university, so I decided to sneak onto campus and take a look. I was walking across the square to the library when this gorgeous creature walked right into me. The others burst into laughter. They were all very similar to Simon, so they didn't find him selfish or superficial at all. Of course, Simon continued proudly, Kathy was crying at the time. The fact was, she owed some lowlife $350,000. She could probably tell straight away that I was rich, so she held my hand and said that as long as I helped her pay off her debt, she'd be willing to be my girlfriend. And she said that I could do whatever I wanted to her. As you all know, I don't have any trouble pulling women, but something about her really caught my eye, so I was happy to give her the money. And now she's mine. His friends looked at him admiringly. One said, "That's still pretty generous, Simon, to give her $350,000 just like that." Another agreed. "Simon, since you really like this woman, are you going to keep her for a while this time? You got bored of your last few girlfriends in less than a month." Simon came from a rich family, but he was also very shrewd with his money. "I haven't nearly finished with her yet. There's still quite a few things I want to try in the bedroom." Alex heard what Simon said and frowned. He turned to Kelly and said, "I need to go to the bathroom," then walked into the villa. Sharon looked at Kelly with concern and said, "Kelly, I can't stop thinking there's something weird going on between Alex and that girl, Kathy." Kelly didn't reply. She was quietly watching Alex walking away. In the bathroom, Kathy was leaning against the wall, wondering to herself, how did Alex end up here with Simon's cousin? What's he doing with her? Is it something to do with this girl Kelly that Alex suddenly became rich? In the mirror, she noticed the reflection of someone walking into the bathroom. She quickly adjusted her hair and makeup and made herself smile. When she saw that it was Alex, her smile turned cold in an instant. She crossed her arms and leaned against the wall, scowling at him with disdain. She muttered, "It's only you, you scumbag." Alex sighed. She hadn't changed at all. He walked up to her anyway. "Get lost, don't you know that you stink?" Kathy said in disgust. Being rude to Alex had cheered her up a bit. "I've got one thing to say, and then I'll leave," he replied, although he knew she didn't even want to look at him now. "Simon's a really horrible person. You should leave him as soon as you can. You'll be worse off than you were with Billy." "Are you serious?" She turned around and looked at him angrily. "You've got the nerve to say that to me? You're still hanging out with Simon's cousin. If Simon's not a good person, then his cousin isn't either." "You've misunderstood me. I'm just trying to look out for you. And I'm not Kelly's boyfriend," he replied calmly. "Why are you still arguing with me?" Kathy didn't believe him at all. "Just now in the garden, why didn't you deny being Kelly's boyfriend? Don't think you can deceive me. I know what's going on. That $100,000 donation you made to the village, then buying designer clothes in the Autumn Beauty Boutique, it's all because of Kelly, isn't it? You're with her for money, aren't you? She's supporting you." "What?" Alex was stunned as he listened to her accusations. "What's wrong?" Kathy sneered. "Alex, it won't matter if I tell everyone. You don't seem to have any problems picking up girls. First you went off with that country peasant, then you met Kelly and decided to use her to provide money for you and your peasant girlfriend. Sounds like a great plan. You disgust me." Alex looked at her incredulously and replied, "I just wanted to tell you that Simon is only with you for one thing. He was telling all his friends while you were in the restroom. He just wants to sleep with you, then when he gets bored, he'll throw you out. And before he came with my own eyes, I saw him hugging and kissing another woman." "So what?" she said. Alex found Kathy's carefree response bewildering. She said, "From when we first met, I knew Simon only wanted one thing, but he did help me pay off Billy, and he even bought me some pretty clothes and cosmetics. That's good enough for me." She continued, "Of course he's playing with me, and I'm also using him. It doesn't bother me that he doesn't want to marry me. He brings me to parties like this where I meet so many wealthy young men, and I'm sure I'll end up with one of them, and then I'll be much richer than you'll ever be, pretty boy." Alex felt stupid for trying to help Kathy when he realized that she had already thought it all through and was well aware of this situation. He pitied her that she could have so little self-respect as to let herself be used by such a lowlife as Simon in this way. He turned around to leave, but Kathy pulled him back violently. He looked at her wearingly. She said, "So you came here to help me, did you? Is that because you're still in love with me?" She looked at him with contempt. "You're so sad. I've dumped you so many times already, but you can't stay away from me. You still want me to change my mind and come back to you, right? Don't be such an idiot. Even if I were with a dog now, I wouldn't come back to you." Alex was regretting his decision to try to help Kathy. She was totally unreasonable. Now he just wanted to get back outside and get some fresh air. He muttered, "Think what you like, I'm going." But Kathy grabbed his arm tightly and said, "Scumbag, you just want to leave like that?" "Let go of me." Alex swung his arm forcefully, but her fingers were like pincers, holding on to him tightly. He asked, "What are you trying to do?" "What do you mean?" Kathy glared at him. She clenched her teeth as she blamed him for all her recent humiliations. "Ah, what are you doing?" Alex asked again. In response, Kathy suddenly shouted out loudly, "Let go, you pervert!" Then she screamed, "Someone come quickly!" Alex heard footsteps and understood what she was doing. He tried to speak. "You..." Kathy sneered at Alex, let go of his arm, and rushed out of the bathroom, bumping into Simon, who had rushed over when he heard the commotion. Simon put his arms around Kathy and anxiously asked, "What's wrong, baby?" The rest of the guests also gathered around her. Alex had no choice but to slowly walk out of the bathroom. "It was him." Kathy pointed at Alex and said, "He was trying to molest me in the bathroom." "What?" Simon looked at Alex furiously. "Hell, this sucker doesn't want to live anymore. How dare he touch Simon's woman?" said one of the guests when they heard what was happening. Another agreed. "He looks like a total lowlife. What a nerve, and right in Simon's house." "Beat him up," shouted another. Simon was fuming. He let go of Kathy and walked slowly toward Alex, growling, "Stupid scumbag. I can't believe I let you stay at the party. I should have kicked you out when I first set eyes on you. How dare you try it on with my woman in my own home? Well, you're not getting away with it." The other guests crossed their arms and watched the two men squaring up to each other. They were enjoying the show and were really looking forward to watching Simon beat up Alex. Simon's fists were clenched, and he was getting ready to hit Alex in the face when they all heard a shout from behind them. "Don't touch him!" Simon turned around and saw that the others had moved to one side to allow Kelly through. She walked over with a serious expression. Kelly walked slowly between the two men and stood in front of Alex, still glowering at Simon. "What are you doing?" Simon asked, glaring back at her. "He's mine. Don't you dare touch him," she replied passionately. "You touched my girlfriend. How can I not touch him?" Simon asked angrily. "Alex, did you touch her?" Kelly asked Alex without looking at him. She was still glaring at Simon. Alex looked at Kathy and replied, "No, I didn't do anything. She's lying. I know this woman and she's really malicious. She'll say anything to hurt me." "My boyfriend said he didn't do it," Kelly said coldly. "Did you not damn well hear what my girlfriend said? He tried to touch her. Why would she make it up? You're accusing my girlfriend of lying, right?" Simon said emphatically, so much so that he was almost spitting saliva. "Even if she's telling the truth, I'm not letting you hurt Alex." Kelly was adamant. She wouldn't change her mind. Simon was so angry that his face turned bright red. He shouted, "Kelly!" However, he knew that Kelly's family outranked his own, so he was powerless to do anything. He had to admit that he was beaten. Simon's anger deflated like a gas tank releasing pressure. Kathy couldn't believe it. She sneered at Kelly and said, "Kelly, why are you protecting him? Are you just going to believe him when he says that he didn't touch me? You've only been dating him for a few days, so you don't know what he's like. I was with him for an entire year." Kathy saw Kelly still protecting Alex and was furious. She didn't want him to be happy with her, and she was determined to destroy their relationship. Then she and Kelly could get their revenge on Alex together.
Thank you for listening to Crown TV. Please don't forget to subscribe, share and turn on the notification button.